Kita.
Hi, Jana. Yana.
Yana, nice to meet you here.
You too.
How is Estonia?
Amazing. It actually reminds me a lot of home.
It's your first time here?
It is.
Nice. What brings you to Estonia?
Well, I would like to thank the IPSCStore for inviting me out here to put on my movement classes.
Nice. Hello, can you please tell us more about your classes?
Well, it's a movement-focused class, not a shooting-focused class. So usually, shooting is about 70% vision, what you see, about 20% gun manipulations, and about 10% movement. So that very last percent, that last 10% is what I cover. So because it's such a small percent, most people don't cover this. They don't pay right, they take it for granted. Oh, it's just the moving part. It's a shooting sport. We don't have to worry about the moving part.
Exactly.
So what my class does is it breaks down the movement part into how do I get from here to here the fastest with a gun. So in most sports, the way it's been proven to move from here to here the fastest isn't going to work in our sport because they're not going to accidentally shoot somebody if they're moving that way. So it's a little bit different in our sport.
What your classes are unique for?
Because it's not shooting and movement together like most of the classes are. Most of the classes are taught by a top-level shooter who teaches how to move around with a gun and how to shoot in a combination, but mostly the focus is on the shooting part.
Exactly.
For me, the focus is on the movement. I'm not going to teach you how to be a better shooter. I'm going to teach you how to move as efficiently as possible with a gun in your hands. Now, of course, shooting live ammunition is going to affect how you move, so we do shoot live rounds in the class, obviously. If I tell you to run from point A to point B, you're going to run differently than if I put a gun in your hands and say run from point A to point B. So that's what I cover.
How did you get into this sphere of activity? Do you have some special background knowledges behind you that help you to work in this area?
Well, I have a medical background. I have a bachelor's degree in nursing.
Oh, that's great.
So I worked in the hospital for about 5 years and helped people after their surgeries with their necks, their backs, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, everything, and taught them how to move efficiently without injuring themselves and how their bodies are made to move. So I have a lot of background in anatomy and physiology and how the human body works.
So you're very confident in this area?
Yes, this is what I do, and that's why I was a coach before I was a shooter, because I could see people moving and say, well, why are they moving that way? That's not how the body works.
Some people usually are so skeptical about if some nice pretty lady is going to teach them how to move. Have you experienced that kind of behavior?
Oh yes, people, if you really want to learn, if you are a top shooter, you will check your ego at the door and seek out knowledge wherever you can get it from. You never know who might have something useful for you to learn. And when you've reached that top level, there's only so much information out there that you start looking in strange places and stepping outside the box a little bit to gain knowledge. You're just looking for a 10th of a second here, a 20th there. Well, that's where I can come in and help the top shooters, and well, really any level shooter, but the top shooters too, where they've run out of ideas and they don't know, they don't know where to gain that extra time from. But I can watch them and I can find inefficiencies in the way their body is moving. And everybody's body moves differently, so it has to be individualized.
Every person is different.
Right, not everybody's joints articulate the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's efficient for you might not be efficient for your husband.
Exactly. We all are different.
Right.
What achievements have you gained as a movement coach? Maybe your students have some achievements?
Oh yes, and my students do a great job of making me look awesome.
Yeah.
I hardly have to do anything. They just make me look good by winning. So I've trained national champions in many different countries, New Zealand, Australia, the US, of course, Canada, pretty much all over the world. I've trained a lot of top level shooters, and every time they win a trophy, I get this giddy little feeling like, I helped. I might have helped this much, but I helped.
This 10%.
This 10%.
Yeah, mine. Your classes are too popular all over the world, and people coming to US to have your classes and trainings. What is your plan for this year? Are you going to visit some countries with your classes?
Yes, for this year I'm doing a lot more teaching internationally than I did last year. Last year it was mostly just in the US. I also did Canada and the Philippines. This year I'll be in the US, Canada, the Philippines, Australia. I was going to do New Zealand, but they had, New Zealand ran into some issues. They had a shooting in their country. So with the regulation changes, we'll have to postpone that until maybe next year. The Philippines, here in Estonia, this is my my first trip to Estonia.
Yeah. I know that your book is releasing very soon. What is the book about?
The book is called Smart Move, and it's economy of motion for the shooting sports, and not just for pistol shooting, but for the shooting sports as a whole.
It's very useful. Very useful, since we don't have any books about shooting at all.
No, our sports are really in their infancy. They haven't been researched the way that other sports have. You can't just go to the library and get a book on how to move in the shooting sports. It just hasn't been done, so it'll be the first of its kind.
It will be great. We need to read it. I think it will be useful for every shooter.
And my book is on the steps that will be the most efficient for your movement, but also to make the book more well-rounded and incorporate the shooting into it, I reached out to a lot of top shooters just to round off those corners a little bit if it was outside my scope of practice, because it does contribute to how you move.
Okay, very interesting. We're expecting your book. Do you remember the video you made some years ago about ghost pouch testing?
Yes.
It's still living in the internet resources. How do you have the idea about this?
In the US, the ghost mag pouches were not well known, and I didn't understand why nobody was using them, because they were so affordable and they worked.
And they're very popular in Europe.
Right, but nobody in the US really knew about them. So I thought, well, people must not know how well they work. So I put mine on and put my mags in.
You can see your video there.
And I did this stuff to show how quickly you can draw them out of the magazine without any resistance. But you can still jump around on a trampoline and climb a rope and do a cartwheel or whatever, and they stay in the pouch.
It's still interesting for every shooter. They still see it.
It sold a lot of magazine pouches.
That's good. Can we repeat it here? We have every stuff here.
If you've got a belt.
Yes, I've got it.
So you can see how easily they come out. Very easy to pull out. And yet they stay when I do this. Ta-da!
They stay.
They're still in there.
Thank you for demonstration.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for your time, for your coming here. I'm too excited about tomorrow class. I will take part in one of those.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sure. See you tomorrow.
We're going to have a lot of fun.
Well, we will.
We're going to get faster.
We will.
Watch out.
It will be better, faster. No, thank you very much. See you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks.